Today we're going to tell you a remarkable true story from the Second World War, when a 6-year-old boy enlisted in the army for his country. The story begins in a small Russian village where a family of 3 was sitting by the river enjoying their free time. The youngest child, Sergei Elyoshkov, was showing his older brother and mother climbing a tree and exclaiming, "Look how high I've climbed!" But then, a German fighter plane came flying towards them. Sergei's mother told both brothers to quickly hide themselves in the bushes, but Sergei declared that he wasn't scared of anything at all. He attacked the fighter jet with his slingshot, and in the very next instant, the fighter jet was completely destroyed by the force of the slingshot's impact. But when he cast his gaze around, he couldn't find his family members anywhere at all. When Sergei's sleep broke, he then understood that it had all been nothing but a dream. He quickly got out of his bed and began to call out for his mother. At that very moment, someone knocked on the house door. He assumed it would be his mother, but a woman from the neighborhood, looking very frightened, entered the house. She informed Sergei that both his mother and his older brother had been tragically killed. The innocent child simply couldn't believe this news and insisted he would stay right there at home, waiting for his mother. The woman informed him that German soldiers had attacked them and he needed to escape before they could see him. Just then, some soldiers started advancing towards their home. The woman picked up Sergei and pushed him out the window, but before she could leave, she fell victim to their bullets. In one swift moment, that innocent 6-year-old child lost his family, friends, and home. Everything was snatched away. As he was fleeing from his home, he looked back and saw his entire village engulfed in flames. He cried out, tears streaming down his face, calling for his mother. But how could she possibly come to him? After running for what felt like an eternity, he found himself deep within the heart of the forest. He desperately called out for his mother once more, pleading for her to come and take him back home. He was utterly lost. That entire night, he remained alone and afraid in the dense forest. The following morning, as he drank water from the river, he spotted several enemy soldiers advancing directly towards him. Sergei knew these men were dangerous, so he quickly ran and concealed himself behind a cluster of trees. When a snake suddenly appeared nearby, he started to tremble with fear, yet he neither cried out nor attempted to flee. He remained frozen in place because his fear of those German soldiers far outweighed his fear of the snake. These were the men who had, in a single devastating stroke, utterly destroyed his entire world. The soldiers sat by the riverbank for a while, ate their meal, and then departed from there. Immediately after their departure, Sergei rushed to that very spot, searching for any leftover food. By the close of the day, the 6-year-old boy was utterly exhausted. He hadn't eaten a decent meal even once in the last 2 days. He was simply walking continuously with no specific destination in mind. He stumbled and fell, but even then he didn't stop moving forward. On his path, he spotted some wild fruits. He was just about to eat them when suddenly a loud explosion occurred right behind him. The innocent child grew even more frightened. Overwhelmed by panic, he started to conjure up all sorts of bizarre thoughts. He developed a strong delusion that someone was relentlessly pursuing him. Despite this terrifying situation, he bravely stood his ground and declared to his unseen follower, "I possess a firearm. I am absolutely not afraid of anyone at all." A short while later, overcome by extreme exhaustion and physical weakness, Sergei lost consciousness. In that very moment, 2 soldiers approached him. Later in the story, we are shown a Russian military base where Commander Kuznetsov was patiently awaiting the return of his soldiers. The soldiers arrived there with the injured little boy. When they explained they were fighting for Russia, he began to open up and told them his name. As he extended his tiny hand to shake the commanders, all the soldiers started laughing. But the commander warmly shook his hand and introduced himself. The soldiers began to feel a deep connection with the little boy. They huddled together around him, offering him various things to eat and drink. Even their typically stern and strict commander also began to look after him. When a nurse named Katya was applying medicine to Sergei's wounds, he asked her to draw a tank on his injuries because he wanted to become a soldier when he grew up. Even the injured soldiers lying in the infirmary felt a sense of relief after talking to him. Sergei really admired the commander's gun and his badge, and the commander would patiently answer all of his questions, no matter how big or small. Occasionally, during his free moment, he would remove the bullets and allow him to play with his rifle. Sergei proudly displayed the tank tattooed on his stomach, boasting that he was a true soldier. He was now recovering quite rapidly. The nurse asked the commander to let Sergei remain with the platoon, but the commander refused, stating that it was not safe for him to stay there. He decides to send Sergei to an orphanage. The soldiers there liked spending their free time with Sergei. Many people would come to visit him during the day. They would give him food items brought from their homes, and he absolutely loved playing with the binoculars. One day, a soldier requests the commander to keep Sergei with the platoon. Everyone liked him very much. Spending a few moments with her, they would find a couple of peaceful moments amidst the war's chaos. Despite this, the commander was unyielding, firmly believing that for Sergei's protection, he absolutely had to be sent to an orphanage. The very next day, enemies launched an attack on them. Many soldiers were injured in this encounter. Meanwhile, a car was there to take Sergei to the orphanage. The commander lovingly explained the situation to him, then placed a small wooden rifle in his hands as a keepsake. Sergei hugged him tightly, saying he'd be very worried about everyone's well-being once he was far away. His embrace melted the commander's heart and he decided to let Sergei stay with the platoon. That night, the soldiers made a small uniform for him. Sergei was overjoyed to see his uniform and began running around happily while wearing it. He looked exactly like a true soldier. Everyone started affectionately calling him Soldier Boy. As he was running about, the Germans suddenly launched an aerial attack on his platoon. The soldiers quickly moved Sergei to a secure location and then went off to engage in battle. The number of injured soldiers was steadily increasing with each passing day. During this challenging time up, Sergei too desired to help them. Therefore, he began to offer water to the parched soldiers. A soldier asked him to read a letter that had arrived from home since his eyes were bandaged. Sergei truly wanted to read the letter, but he simply didn't know how to read. Even so, he accepted the letter and began to invent words from his own mind. He said that the soldier's cow at home is perfectly fine. The soldier said that he doesn't even have a cow. But everyone else then laughing said, "Oh no, let him read it." Just like that, in his unique style, he would read out the letters to everyone. And hearing this, they would all laugh heartily. We discovered that Katya and the commander had feelings for each other, but they never managed to express them. Later, Sergei informs the commander that he has now become an indispensable part of the platoon. Suddenly, a military outpost completely devastated by an attack appeared before them. The commander then taught him to show respect for the fallen soldiers by solemnly removing his cap. The next day, he requested the commander to assign him a mission as well. He was assigned the duty of delivering letters to the soldiers. He began performing this duty with utmost honesty and dedication. However, at times, instead of a letter, he'd even tell someone to dance. The next day, Sergei went a distance from the base with his binoculars. As he was playing with them, he saw a foot moving in a pile of dry grass. He quickly ran to the platoon and told the soldiers about his discovery. Though they didn't quite believe the boy, they still went with him to investigate. Hidden dinasakidi within that dry hay pile. They discovered 2 German spies. They were promptly arrested and taken away. Sergei's intelligence and his sharp, quick thinking were highly praised by all. Later that night, the commander presented Sergei with the adoption papers. Sergei had now legally become the commander's son. Sergei knew his father had a liking for Katya, so asserting his claim, he brought the commander over to speak with her. But when they saw her talking to another man, they both mistakenly believed she might have feelings for someone else. The truth was, however, that this was not the case at all. For the second time, German troops launched an attack on their military outpost. This time, Sergei, with all his strength, began helping all the soldiers, supplying them with ammunition. But a soldier stationed there ordered him to go back, because that place was not safe. When he returned, he saw the commander and everyone else were very panicked because their connection with the colonel was lost. A soldier was sent to fix the broken wires. Sergei also quietly followed him. He saw the soldier was gravely wounded by a gunshot. He asked the dying soldier how to connect the wires. Sergei connected the wires as instructed, restoring the connection, and the commander asked the colonel for help. That 6-year-old child saved everyone's lives. The next day, the commander confessed his love for Katya and asked her to be Sergei's mother. Deep down, she was extremely happy but also quite shy. However, before she could utter a single word, a soldier came up to them and handed the commander a letter which contained orders for all of them to move to a different location as quickly as they could. All the soldiers, accompanied by Sergei, then set off towards their new base. However, on their journey, some of their vehicles were destroyed due to enemy mines that had been laid on the road. Even the commander suffered a serious head injury, and a soldier, who was very close to Sergei, was martyred in the explosion. Sergei then hugged the commander tightly and cried profusely. She takes all the injured soldiers with her and heads towards her new station once again. Upon arriving there, everyone met with the army general. The general too was deeply impressed by the child's bravery. The following day, their battalion was honored with the guard's banner, and Sergei was honored as well. When the general presented him with the badge, he declared that he would protect his nation with all his heart and soul. So one night, their base came under heavy attack. In an explosion, the commander was completely trapped under wooden beams. Sergei was crying, making a desperate effort to save his father. He called out to the remaining soldiers who pulled the commander out, saving his life. The following day, Sergei went to where the commander lay injured. His small hands had also been wounded in his desperate attempt to save his father. That child had now become an inseparable part of this battalion. Besides them, he now had no other family. Wherever they went, he would go with them. In the final scene, we witness him advancing with immense spirit and determination alongside his fellow soldiers. It is recounted that Sergei, battling fiercely through the conflict, journeyed with his comrades all the way to Poland. Even to this very day, he is still referred to as the world's smallest soldier.